What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Engineers Without Filters podcast, episode 109. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson, and tonight I'm drinking a special New Holland Brewing Company brew, Light Point Functional Wheat Ale. I'm telling you, I picked this up this week because I saw New Holland. I'm like, ooh, I like them. And I could be down for a little lighter beer, you know? And this shit's fucking good. It's so light. I mean, it's only 2 carbs and it's less than 4% alcohol, so it's not like you're going to get drunk off of these. But it's still very tasty. It's just a very nice, refreshing beer, and I love it a lot. Highly recommended.
Isn't this the one that you had last week?
I had this on the Monday stream. I didn't have this on the podcast.
Oh, the Monday stream. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoilers.
I am double dipping because it's just
spoilers for something that
spoilers
happened.
for the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe the people who aren't, watching our streams need to.
Hey, you can go watch the Twitch VOD. We played some Gang Beasts. Good time.
Oh my gosh.
Fucking people around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Joseph, and I'm also drinking something I drank on the stream, which is Big Wood Brewery Cabin Days IPA.
How many Z's? Oh, just one. Okay.
Just one Z. But yeah, it's partly cloudy with 100% chance of delicious.
That's disgusting. I
Juicy
hate
and hazy, double dry hopped like crazy, cool, smooth, and refreshing. I like those words, so it's pretty good.
I like those words. Well, I'm Gabe. I'm going back to my roots. This is the first time I bought a 24 pack of this in. It's been 4 or 5 months. I'm back to the high life train.
Ooh.
I saw it today, and I was like, "Yeah, I want this."
It's time for some champagne, baby.
my standard procedure was like I would go get a thing of seltzers and then like craft beer, like a 6-pack. Then today they had a good deal, and I was just like, "Ooh, we're gonna go back to this."
I'm surprised you're not drinking that lift bridge that I saw.
I was gonna get that, but then we were late, so I ran to the fridge and grabbed the thing quickest.
Okay.
That'll be next week if I don't drink at all,
If they last that long.
which we'll see.
We all know how Gabe is on the weekends.
Getting crazy.
And I'm Dayton, and I am drinking, which I think Jacob has had this one before on the podcast. Crook and Marker. Is this the one that he thinks that gave him the shits, even though we all know that it was just the tacos?
That is correct.
I think it was
That's
burritos. Yeah.
Burritos, same thing.
What's your take on it?
I think it might be a perfect 5 out of 10, just like Connecticut.
Straight middle of the road.
Just
Wait, you said just like Connecticut? What's Michigan out of 10?
I would personally put Michigan higher than Connecticut.
well, it's better than lower, so
I mean, I agree it is a 5 out of 10, but it just gets way worse based on the price. 'Cause it's like an 8-pack comes in, right? And I think the 8.
I don't know. I didn't buy this.
I'm pretty sure an 8-pack of Crook and Marker is the same price as a 12-pack of Press. So it's just like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It's like I would definitely buy Bud Light Seltzer over this.
Damn.
Wow.
Get fucked, Crook and Marker.
Yeah.
Don't
premium.
sponsor us.
Get that shit out of here.
please.
Please don't sponsor us.
What if there's a Crook and Marker rep like scouring for podcasts and he finds this one episode and he's just like, oh.
And he's like, wait, do they make you shit? I gotta go back and find that other episode.
Oh my god.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. As always, you can find our show on Mondays on YouTube and podcast services. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ewfpodcast. And also go ahead and give us a follow on Twitch at ewf_podcast. We got 2 new follows during our stream on Monday, which was like, whoa, okay.
We're freaking pulling now, boys.
Yeah, we got to get to 50, baby. You got to get to 50. So if you
My
want to help
ego
us out,
is
go follow
doubled.
us. But yeah, no, we're having a good time streaming the games on Monday. So if you want to see us more, come check that out. Topic tonight. So this was birthed from me being really busy the past couple weeks, and part of the busyness was presentations. For two different classes, I had to make presentations and present. I presented one of them. I have the other one next week. I have to present. Um, but maybe it got me thinking. You know, public speaking is the number one fear of humans, above death even. And I know we've
Where'd
all
you get that from?
I don't know.
that is a legit
I've heard
statistic
that
I've heard.
before.
Yeah, if
Oh,
you look up
really?
like if
Oh,
you
you're
look
not
up like
making that
top
up?
fears. No, I'm
I
not.
thought
Like
you were
people,
just spewing shit.
No,
no,
I've
people
heard
are
it.
more afraid of public speaking than dying.
Yeah.
Um,
I disagree on that, but
Like more people are afraid, or
On average,
people
like if you
would
just
rate
like
that fear higher.
yeah, like they would rate the fear higher.
Okay.
yeah, they'd rather die than get up and give a speech.
oh my god.
But recently I've been feeling more confident with my public speaking skills. I think it depends on like the situation, but I feel like over time I've gotten more and more comfortable. I still feel anxious and stuff beforehand, but I was just curious, like, how are you guys feeling about your current speaking skills? How often do you have to present? I don't even know at your jobs how often you guys have to, talk in front of a group of people. So I just wanna let's have a little discussion about public speaking. I'm gonna send it to Joseph first because you gave a presentation today.
Yeah, as part of my
Oh,
job,
so
I have to give semi-regular presentations. So like when we make a machine, part of the design phase is like designing the software. So there's like this document that we make called software design. And
Hold on, Gabe, what are you laughing at?
Dayton is fucking with the stream. There's two of me.
I saw him say fuck under his breath.
Sorry, continue.
Wait, if there's two of you, does that mean there's 5 people?
There's no
on?
Jacob.
Oh, okay.
Now they're it
you
shouldn't
fucking
have
with?
done that. It shouldn't have done that. I was messing with it outside of I was in the studio mode.
Damn.
There we go. We're back.
Anyway,
Sorry.
So-
go ahead, just-
I have to make this document, and then we present it to the customer. And it's just like depending on the size of the machine, like a 10 to a bigger machine, it can get pretty extensive. But I don't know. Mine was 17 pages, and that's it's a pretty small machine. But so there's like an internal review before the external review, and then it's just like, hey, this is my plan. Does this align with your goals, your expectations, kind of deal? So I think for that reason, it's a little more intense than when I normally gave a presentation, because they have their expectations generally of like what they want, and if it doesn't align with that, then it could be like really well done, and I could like present it in a really great way. But if it's like slightly veering off from what they want, then it's gonna get ridiculed. And I say ridiculed, but like they're gonna, oh well, have you accounted for this or like that? It can be very like heavily scrutinized,
Right.
which it should be because I'm presenting.
That's kind
for
of like the point of it,
customer.
right? Yeah.
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 But actually today's went really well, partly because I don't think that they have the best plan in mind for it, for better or worse. But I mean, I think I've gotten better at presenting for sure. I've definitely gotten more confidence recently, especially when it's something like I'm designing this is how I'm going to do it, and like presenting my plan versus like in school I would present like each class that I took my senior and even my junior year, I had to present a research paper, and it's like, hey, I read this paper like 5 times, and now I'm explaining it to you. Like I didn't do this research. I didn't, write this paper. I didn't, do anything for this. I'm just like regurgitating it, which is like more difficult because you don't necessarily know like as in depth. But like this is like I know my thought process for why I picked going from step 1 to 2 to 3. Like I know what's going on here. So like that's definitely helped with it.
Is it more, did you get any stress from it being like a paying customer, right? As opposed to like your coworkers? Do you feel like it's a little bit more like, I don't know, high stakes, or are you pretty chill with it right now?
I feel I get more stressed out when we do the internal review than the external review. Because the internal review, like the people, like I'm reviewing this with like people who have been engineering for a long time and like know the not necessarily this system, but like the products that I'm using and like
Right.
the logic and stuff. Like they know this really well, especially like our CTO. He fucking lives, breathes, and shits like controls engineering.
Right.
And so like to like present to him and he'll like ask some random question. You're like, I did not think of that at all. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's great though, you know? So like there's that. And then like by that point, then it's refined. And then by the time I present to a customer, it's a pretty solid plan by that point.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
And sometimes depending on the size of the project, there could be multiple I could present to them and then they're like, this isn't, this is a little off base. And or like not off base, but like off like what we were thinking. So let's do it again. And then like I'll revise it. Like let's make sure it's right this time. You're not like right, but like more in line with what we were thinking.
Right.
So like there's a bit of that versus like presenting like into a class where like the students don't give a shit and the teacher barely cares. Right. But
it kind of sounds like a conversation, except you brought PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
It's like, here's my argument, and here's some visuals to make it easier to understand.
Well, I don't even make a PowerPoint. I literally just like show like right now, I just screen share a PDF document and just like scroll through it. And that makes it easier too, because then I can just then I would print it out and like give it to each person. So then like especially ahead of time, so then they can like mark it up and like write their notes and stuff. But like I'll email them like this PDF document, and then that's like actually part of our quality documents, like our system. So yeah, it's less of like a presentation, more just me scrolling through this document and reading it and like explaining my thought process with stuff. But
yeah, that definitely sounds better than a classic group presentation.
Well, yeah. But no,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel a lot more confident now than I did in school, and I don't know if it's the material or like me like growing and like becoming more knowledgeable. But I can definitely, especially like in high school, I was quiet, not a big fan, but I don't know. I'm still a fairly quiet person, but I don't know, like in that setting, I'm definitely a lot more comfortable. Like, this is a thing I created, so I'm going to tell you about it, And exactly. I think that different like angle of it is really helpful, at least for me.
Yeah. Gabe, what about you? How often do you have to present these days?
It really depends. I mean, I have like a fair share of a little slice of public speaking every week at work, where it's like, I say public speaking, it's in a Teams meeting, so it's like definitely an entirely
camera
different
off,
beast.
just like
oh yeah, on mute for a few minutes to explain what's going on. So I do have like a couple like company-wide goals or whatever that I'm attached to, and a few other specific things that they've attached me to that I do have to present on, and I'm still bad at it, honestly. And I think for me, it's like it's a relationship of who's in the meeting. For me, it's like, how high up are you on the ladder, and that will directly correlate to how bad I do, or like how much I stumble, because like to me, like the stakes get higher, I guess, if that makes sense. So like I talk to like a project team, right, and I have a small slice and they do a lot of the other stuff. So if it's just the project team asking questions, I'm fine. I'm like, oh, I can answer this, whatever. But then when it's like my team, and then I'm like telling my manager's manager what I'm doing and why I did it, that's when I start to be like, this makes sense to me, and I'm trying to like just like word vomit it out, I guess, sometimes. It's definitely gotten a lot better over the last year. I've gotten a lot more comfortable just talking to people I perceive as like scary, I guess, or like higher stakes.
Right.
But it's not something I like to do, but it's something that I'm like okay doing, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like you've gotten better at it over the course of your job, or even to the course of your life?
Yeah, I mean, at one point, this is a great example of public speaking, but well, he's now the CEO. We had a meeting of all the new hires. There was like 100 people, and he fucked up my name in front of 100 people. Over 100 people. It was 250 people in this fucking meeting. And I forgot how he fucked it up. I think he might have called me Gabriella. So then I unmuted. I'm like, it's Gabe. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'll like, I don't care that you're the CEO. Like, fucking read my name right. And the thing is, we have a ton of people that are like, it's an international company. So we have people in that call that were like from all over. And he was nailing them. And then he gets to my name. He's like, Gabrielle. Nope. It's Gabe.
I'm telling you, his brain was in international mode.
It might have been.
When he saw like a normal name, he's like assumed it'd be something more exotic, I guess.
It's entirely possible. I've definitely gotten a lot more comfortable like saying that type of stuff and like pitching in when I feel like I have value. I think that's a big change too, is like in school, it's like, here's this thing that I learned. I guess you don't really care, but here it is, versus like, oh, you guys actually respect my opinion, and I think I have a better, like, not a better idea, but I think I could add to this conversation, right?
Right.
So like, I'll pitch in when I can. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely want to get into the whole mechanics of virtual meetings with regards to this, but not quite yet. Dayton, what about you? How are you presenting these days?
I don't really have to present hardly ever.
Oh, really?
I've only done one, like at work. I've only done one like presentation. And that was like a training course that I put on. And, that had a whole bunch of different like engineers, like from like entry level engineers all the way up to like principal engineers that have like 40 plus years of experience at the company. And that was like, it was a little stressful just because like I wanted to make sure that I was like communicating the correct information for them. But I would say that I have a decent amount of public speaking experience, mostly due to like the course that I took. What was that? Final semester of senior year. That really
just doing a presentation on bagels.
Yeah, dude, it was
preparing
fun.
one. I remember walking into your room and there's just bagels on your PowerPoint. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
See, if you can bullshit a presentation like that, I don't know. I think you've made it.
That's true.
But that class really just kind of like beat the nerves out of me, I'll say. And also it's just like preparation is key. Like if, at least for me, like if I run through it in my head and then also, like make sure that I know the outline like through and through, because I never used note cards. Like I hated using note cards. Right. So like if I felt comfortable with that, then I knew that once I got up there, like it'd only be like the first minute where I'd just be like, oh, this is kind of like nerve wracking. But then once I like get into like that state where I'm just talking,
low state.
Yeah. It feels good. Oh, actually, and I take that back. I had to give my sister's, I was the best man at my sister's wedding, so I had to give the best man speech there. And
how was that?
I think that was probably the most nervous that I had been for a speech.
How drunk were you?
I wasn't drunk at all.
Oh, that's awful.
No, no. Because
it's usually pretty early. It's before dinner usually.
I refused to have any drinks until after I had given the speech, because like I knew what I had in my head. I had practiced this thing, so like this was this fall. So I had been preparing this speech for like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months, like going up to it, and like every time that I would drive up to the Whites and drive back down, I would spend an hour or two each drive there and back, and I would just go through the outline, basically talk through it, talk to myself in the car, and I'd pretty much just like beat it into submission into my brain. And I knew that if I were drunk that I would probably like mess some shit up, and
just start free balling it and just
yeah, and I was
throw
like
the note cards.
and like that's probably like the most important speech that I've ever given, right? Because like I have one shot at it. If I do it poorly, if I do it very poorly, people will remember it for the wrong reasons. If I do it very mediocrely, then nobody will probably remember it. They'll probably just be like, yeah, like it was all right. But if I do it really well, then people will probably remember it for a long time.
A legend.
Yeah.
The legend.
Yeah.
So you didn't even have note cards for that speech.
No.
Wow.
I told you, dude, I beat it
I would
into
give you a
submission.
pass. I'll give you a pass on note cards on a speech. Like a PowerPoint, I feel like the slides are your note cards. Like you don't really need. But for a speech, I would not fault you for having some help on that one. Because I've seen people come up with like fucking a packet for speeches at weddings. It's just like, okay, that's a little much, but
No, dude. Because like at least my way of like public speaking and even doing presentations is that the reason I don't like note cards is because like that I feel like that locks me in to a specific like framing or like specific like things that I want to say. But like my own style is that I have the outline, right? So like I know like these are the points that I want to hit during my introduction, and then these are like the main points that I want to make during the body, and then this is how I want to wrap it up. And generally I only have like four, generally like I don't know, like a handful, right? Like 3 to 5 like sentences where I'm just like, oh yeah, these are the fucking like juicy sentences that are gonna like really hit home with a lot of people. And then like those are the ones that I remember, and then the rest I'm just like talking. So then it doesn't sound like I'm just up there being a robot and just being like, as you can see in this slide, blah 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 blah. And it comes across more as just a conversation, which that's something that I learned in my public speaking class.
Yeah, that's definitely my philosophy these days for your presentations. I'm definitely seeing some of myself in all of you guys of how you think about stuff. So yeah, I would say within the last, probably since I've been at grad school, I feel like I've become more confident, and that's also because the audience, like Gabe said, like if it's in a class, like the first presentation in that class might be a little bit nerve-wracking. It's like, okay, I don't really know all these people, but after the first presentation, it's like, okay, I know the gist.
You know everyone.
And like also the students don't really give a shit, and if the professor's chill and they're not going to ask me super hard questions, then like it's fine, and then with like I have to give a semesterly presentation in a lab meeting, just like an update on what you're working on, and that one's not that bad either because like my boss, my PI knows exactly what I'm doing because it's no new information for him, and everyone else, either they care or they don't, but they're all people I see every single day, so it's not, if they have questions, it's probably gonna be more helpful than anything else. But if I have to give, I haven't had to yet, but if I have to give a presentation where it's like people I don't know that might ask hard questions, it's like, oh boy, that'll get me nervous. I think next semester I have to present my research to this like research center that we're a part of, and it's a lot of professors in there I don't know. And if they ask me some hard shit, I was like, that's a good point. I'll think about that. The fuck on.
It's definitely like, I think the audience is my biggest like factor, like the team meetings that I have, I'm like super comfortable. Like I'm a lot more relaxed,
Right.
If it's like someone up higher up, it's like, oh, I'm kind of a goofy person, and I at work, like around the people that I work around, like they know that. But, like the higher up I go, I'm like, I can't be a complete ass. Like they might think I'm being lazy or like I don't care.
Right.
I'm just joking around because it's just how I am about everything.
That's how you'd be engaging. Like that's how I've been trying to be in my class presentations. It's like, okay, I know nobody gives a shit, but how can I make this a little bit more engaging so it's not super boring? How can you learn something from this? So like I've been trying to be way more conversational, way more chill, and just like breaking down stuff as simply as possible so that anyone can understand, even if you zone out halfway through. Because that's my thing, is like sometimes I zone out at the beginning of presentation, and then by the time I wake up in the middle, I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like I have no idea what's going on. Like even if I miss just like the title of the presentation, I can be completely lost. And so I'm all about just like making things as simple as possible without like removing all the details. It's just like, what is like the shit you need to know, and how can I deliver that to you as simply as possible. But it's also what Joseph said too about just familiarity with the material. If you're presenting your own stuff, it's a lot easier to be comfortable because you have a lot better ability to just answer questions in general. But like if you're presenting on a paper, it's like, okay, well, I wasn't there when they made these decisions, so I can't answer your question because I wasn't a part of the decision-making process. I can just tell you what's in this paper. And that's actually my presentation next week it's a presentation class, like kind of what Dayton did, except it's more, scientifically focused. And the project is like, pick a paper that's relevant to your research and present it as if it was your own research. So I'll be using like, yes, we did this and our lab did this, but like, I didn't actually do it. But
See,
I guess it's still a good skill to have. But
I don't know. I think that's super nice when you like know the material, but I also have noticed there are some like I'm gonna use the word stakeholders. Some stakeholders that I talk to who aren't in my field, if that makes sense. So like I said, I do one small slice of things. So I'll talk to like the rest of the team. Like, here's what I need to do, or here's my problems, and here's like a lot of the times they're the ones driving the decisions. I just tell them what's wrong or what is right and how I want to do things, and then they have to like approve it type of a deal.
Right.
So that translation, I mean, that's something I've dealt with forever, especially in IT. Like when I fix computers in college all the time, it's like you have to translate, this is the issue, but I have to explain it to you so that you understand it. But I also don't want to make you feel like I'm talking to a baby. Like that is the hardest, I think, at least maybe for me or even in my field, where it's like I need to translate this. It needs to make sense and it needs to be concise, but also I can't dumb it down too much for you like think I'm being patronizing,
Right. That's huge. I mean, Dayton says it a lot, but it's like know your audience, right? Like you have to know exactly who you're presenting to. And even when you know your audience, maybe still like dumb it down very slightly. I don't know. Cause like there's in the same class, one of the girls in my cohort presented on a great presentation, right? Very well laid out, visually pleasing, good information. She was presenting totally fine, like normal cadence. Couldn't tell you what the fuck presentation was about. Like I lost her in the beginning, and it was some like mechanism about, and I'm just like, I had no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And there was one point where she was presenting a slide, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you guys all know this enzyme, but I'll just yada yada yada." And I'm like, I don't remember that enzyme, and I am lost. And it's like, you know what? I probably should know, but I don't. So anyway.
But yeah, it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. I also find it fascinating, like with questions, right? There's many different types of questions that I think are interesting. One of them is like, I understood the presentation. I have a question about how this could be expanded, and I think those are probably the best questions. There's also ones that are like, I just didn't understand something, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe they just missed this thing, or after read rate, so you just tell them again what you already told them. There's also ones where they know exactly everything's happening, and they ask you a really hard question, and you're just like, oh, fuck, they're about to expose me because I do not know the answer to this. And they're going to know.
They know layer 2, and you're at layer 1.
Yeah, and you're like, ah, fuck. But I remember in my senior design presentation back at Tech, we were presenting, and I've told this story before, I think, but we did like some cobalt alloy engineering, right? And in this presentation, there's a bunch of industry people from like different like foundries and stuff, and probably some like PIs too. Anyway, we finished our presentation, and these industry people started asking questions, and it became very clear very quickly. Oh, they know nothing about cobalt. Like they know about aluminum and iron. They don't know shit about cobalt. These are some easy ass questions to answer, So that felt good because it's like, okay, that made you think that the people who this presentation is for don't fully understand it, which means they're gonna think we're a lot smarter than we actually are, and that's what happened. So
that's a good place to be.
See, what's annoying is like, at least for me, right? So like, I'm still in like the metals world, and they were smart in the sense that they probably didn't try to like extrapolate their knowledge from their aluminum and steel onto their cobalt alloys, because I'm making an educated guess here. There's gonna be very little overlaps. And I was talking to another metallurgist at a different contractor, and they tried to tell me that aluminum and titanium were like the same, and I'm just like, they were describing like this issue that they were having with aluminum, and then they were like, oh yeah, like we had this with aluminum, like it'll probably happen with the titanium, and I'm just like, no. Like at first they didn't even tell me what alloy it was. They were just like, oh yeah, like in the past ones we've had this issue, and I was like, was it with titanium? And they're like, nah, it was with aluminum. And I'm like, that's literally the equivalent of saying like, that's like comparing like OS X, right, like Apple computers to like Windows computers in terms of operating systems. Like,
I mean, I don't want to say the average person, but I feel like the most people could tell you that aluminum and titanium are very different. Like aluminum is what is, or like beer cans are made of, and titanium is a fucking hard ass metal. Like,
Yeah, but they're both metal.
they're both silver.
Yeah.
It just hurt me.
Yeah, no, that's rough. How did you guys feel about group presentations? Because the pro of group presentations, in my opinion, is like you can split the work, right? However, there's a lot of cons that come with that. Like flow can maybe not be great and be very clear, who did what, and it's completely different voices in the presentation. My biggest issue is that I get a ton of anxiety because I can't control when they speak. So like if they get like nervous or if they start getting fidgety or they like say something wrong, it's like I can't just correct them, but also that reflects negatively on the entire presentation. So I'm just like, don't fucking mess up, which is like,
I mean, they're probably doing the same thing with
rude.
you, but
Probably yeah, but I don't know because I often get kind of put into like the leader role in a lot of these presentation groups, which like is fine. I don't mind doing that. I like delegating, but yeah, when the presentation comes around and if they like fuck something up, it's like shit. Like this reflects negatively on all of us, and I just get anxiety from that. But yeah, did you guys get a similar thing in group projects?
oh, dude, senior design. There's a certain person, that just never showed up for like weeks. And he wouldn't even show up to like our weekly meeting. So like I think it was every month we did a presentation. So like by the end of it, like you were saying before, your fucking things and you just fucking spit it out. Here's the new shit. And then you go wait another month and work on it throughout. This guy didn't show up ever. So like every time I got to him, he would just bomb and stutter and it was just fucking terrible. And like I remember he would just like always bail on me, and I remember he like at the end of the year because it's senior design is split in 2 semesters, at least at Tech. So the end of the first one, he goes, yeah man, I feel like I haven't been around too much, so I feel like I kind of screwed it up. And I was like, yeah, you did. And he looks at me, he goes, wait, really? You think that? I'm like, you haven't been in a meeting in 2 months and you stutter every time. Like your slides are like 3 bullet points. And he goes, I'll make it better next semester. He didn't, guys. But
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I was so done with group projects after that because I think that semester me and a couple other guys had to fill out his section and said, you're speaking on this type of a deal, which is a classic group project. I mean, we talked about it in the group project episode or whatever. Classic group project move, but it's just right. I hated it when it was his turn. And it's like, because you have to give him something to speak on,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then
you can't just be like, he's not speaking because he wasn't here. He's an idiot. What excuse you want? Like we're not letting him talk.
Like you can't do that. Like even though we wanted to.
Yeah. Just like a quick interjection from that game. Dayton knows what I'm talking about. There's a kid in our major who just thought he was the shit. Like he thought he was the hottest fucking person in the room, but he didn't know. Like he was an idiot. And I remember watching the final presentations, and like after they were done, he did fine through his slides or whatever. But then people would ask questions, and he'd be like, "I'll take this one." And it's like,
I hate that shit, dude.
And just be completely wrong, and also take way too long. It's just like to answer questions. It's like, dude, shut up! Like fucking shut up! Like it was so bad. And you could just see his group members just being like, "Oh my god!"
It was painful. It was painful.
That's the worst too when they ask questions and someone takes it. It's like our fate is in your hands. Like, I hope you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Like, it's bad when a person answers a question and then the group member has to, like, clarify what they said after. It's like, oof. Like, that's rough.
Yeah.
And, he probably doesn't have enough, like, self-reflection or introspection to realize that he's fucking up.
Dude, do you remember? He straight up told, like, our professor, like, I'm smarter than you on something. It's just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Oh, that's how you get a good grade.
He was the dumbest person who thought he was the smartest I've ever met. Like, it was hilarious.
There's a lot of those at Tech, honestly.
And I don't have any, like, I know it's something like me mean. I have no sympathy for this dude. He had no remorse. He was not introspective at all. He was just a piece of shit. Anyway, sorry. Joseph, tell me about your group presentations.
I don't know. In my experience, it's always like what Gabe was saying, where there's always one person who, like, I don't, it's hard to evenly have everyone like have an equal part and an
Right.
equal understanding,
Yes.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Where like, okay, we each study like this topic. Like we did group presentations for my classes where we'd all pick a paper or a research paper,
Mhm.
and then we'd all present it. And you know, it if everyone's reading it, then it's a lot easier to be like, okay, I don't need to read it as in depth.
Mhm.
And then you go to present it and like that it shows. And I don't know, and I have an experience with that in our second semester at school. We were in
Oh.
a group together.
What class?
Eng
Eng
1102.
1102. And we had to design a robot was it just a robot or an autonomous?
I think it had to be an autonomous robot, but like we
It
didn't
was
have
an
to build it. We
autonomous.
just had to design it.
Yeah, we had to
Right.
design. We CAD'd it. We made it in CAD. We did all this shit for it. And this was a 4-person group, and the robot that we made was easily split into 3 parts. And I was the last person to speak up. So, like, Dayton, did you do we did like a snowblower that like drives around and snow blows your driveway. So Dayton, did you do the blower head?
Yeah, I did.
So then someone did like the body of it,
Mhm.
and someone else did like we wanted to do like those like
Tracks.
tank tracks
Tracks.
for it so that it would like get better traction in snow.
Were you
And then
that
I'm
guy?
looking around the room like, what else is there to model on this?
Yeah.
And one of the guys goes, "Well, we need a hinge from like the snowblower to the body." And I was like, "Okay." And then we're like, "No, that's basically it." So like,
Can we throw a spoiler on it or something? Give me something to work with.
Yeah, like a charging station, maybe. Like I don't know, something else, so I don't look like a complete fool. And so like Dayton was working on his CAD all the time, and I was like, I got it done in 45 minutes. Like I felt
You were
so
that
bad.
guy in the group.
But at
What
least
if
it wasn't for you lack of caring. It was like straight
Yeah,
up, like there just
yeah.
wasn't a job for you.
I mean, I could have. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I like this is my freshman year of college. Like,
Mhm.
how much effort do I want to put into this class that I didn't even end up needing for my major? And I knew it when I signed, or like by that point.
Mhm.
Right.
So I feel
What a-
bad, but also like we split it up in the presentation a bit more.
And in the
evenly.
report.
Yeah, and in the report. So like it evened out, but I still like felt like shit. Everyone else is catting up, and I'm like, I'm gonna start on this part, I guess.
Dude, I just
What a
remember
class
I remember
influence it was.
both of those teammates. I was working in MATLAB and I was like typing up and they're like, "Man, you're making a lot of typing mistakes, but you still type faster even when you have to delete all that than me otherwise." And I was just like, I'm not even typing that fast. I'm just fucking up a lot. Like,
They were a bunch of youpers.
yeah.
I gotcha.
That was a fun project. It was a fun
It
class.
was a fun
It
project.
was a fun hinge.
not to brag, but my team in that class for that project, we got like 4th place in the sense competition, where we presented it with some other groups, you know. And so it was pretty good. It's pretty good.
I have to take it.
You're not even an engineer anymore.
I know, feels bad, man. I don't even remember how to use 3D modeling software.
That's sad. Big sad, Jacob.
Yeah, that's all right.
Bring
Dane,
great
do you have any
shame.
group presentation stories?
Not any like really bad ones per se. I mean, like my senior design project, somehow I like loopholed my way into being a solo senior design project. Pretty
You
much.
did more work than the rest of us combined.
Yeah. So like I just kind of like did my own thing with that. I presented all by myself, wrote my own reports, and then we pretty much just like stuck those on. We just like tagged them onto like the main groups stuff. So like in my stuff got graded independently, I'm pretty sure anyway. So like, I was like, I don't really give a fuck. I think in one of my classes, I think this was in my hydrodynamic modeling class, the professor, like, he had us do like presentations on like our major projects that we completed, like our major modeling projects. And I don't think he even required that everybody spoke, but everybody got the same grade for the project, I think is how it worked out. So basically he allowed us, like, if somebody was like good at presenting, then they could do like all the presenting. If somebody was like really good at doing like the modeling work, then they could just do the modeling work and not have to present.
That's kind of cool. You just draft your best players.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I was in a group with, I think, like 2 people that didn't know how to do hydrodynamic modeling that well. So I just did the hydrodynamic modeling aspect, and they just ended up presenting, and like I made the presentation for them, and I was just like, whatever. Like, at this point, I don't care. Like, the facts are across the board. So that was pretty
You're
cool.
just the guy at the desk, right?
Yeah.
What is it for superheroes? What's that called?
The man in the chair.
Man in the chair. That's what you were dating.
Mm-hmm.
Doing all the
You had to present for MSC though, right? I remember you presenting, I think.
Did I?
For like Dr. Paul and everyone.
No, I didn't.
Oh, maybe you were just there in the audience.
Yeah, I was there in the audience. And then what I ended up doing is I video recorded my presentation.
Oh, that's
for
what
our
it was.
enterprise, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
just had to send it to Dr. Paul.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So we've already kind of hinted on it here and there, but what are your guys' biggest pet peeves when someone else is presenting yours? Like, oh, I don't like that. I can start. 'Cause it happened this week, and I'm still upset about it. So I'm in this class. This is a different class, but we're presenting, and it's groups, and it's a class. So like, let's be honest, students really give a shit, and the professors are grading you, right? That being said, I really, really, really don't like it when the person presenting only looks at the professors the entire time. It's so just like a fuck you to the audience, in my opinion. It's like, so if I'm sitting there, it's like, why should I engage with your presentation if you don't even engage with me at all? Like, and it's not, it's to me, it's worse than just staring at the slides or staring at the computer the entire time, because you're making a decision to make eye contact, but you're only looking at the people who are grading your presentation. And it's just like, fuck you, I already didn't give a shit, but now I really don't give a shit about your presentation. So I really don't like that.
Are we gonna do the same order, or are we gonna?
I don't care.
Here?
Whoever wants to huck one out there.
All right, I'll huck one. I'll huck one out there. So this is more like applicable to when you like see like the same person present like time after time. I really don't like picking up on like their like nervous tics. And like, for most people, if you just hear them present once, like, maybe you'll be able to hear like 1 or 2 like nervous tics that they do. Like, maybe they'll take like an excessively long pause like after slides, or they'll like just kind of stare for like a little bit too long at like one person, or they'll kind of say ums or uhs like way too much. There was this one person in my public speaking class that I picked up on this in the first week of the class. And it was just unbearable, man. Like, I almost got to the point where I was like counting the number of like tics that I heard. And I think, if I remember correctly, like, she didn't make any progress on like getting rid of that tic at all. And I mean, I can't like fault her for it, because she's probably not even conscious of it. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, like, that derails my entire like focus on the presentation, because it's just like, I know that you're trying to communicate something to me, but all that I can fucking pay attention to right now is you saying ums and uhs like way too much.
Yeah, and it's anything that distracts you, right? And that's what just makes the presentation, like, you cannot even fathom like listening to what's actually happening.
I remember, I forget what the tic was. I just remember it was a professor that had a really bad tic that was so miserable that the whole class was aware of it pretty quick. And we started keeping tallies. And we had like our classes, or our major had like a Discord or whatever. So like we would count how many times and like post like the daily, like, okay,
That's
he said this
awful.
so many times because it was so fucking distracting. Like that's all you could hear. It was just fucking miserable.
It's like, even if somebody does a bunch of ums and uhs, you might not necessarily be conscious of it. It might just be in the background. But once you like make a note and like
Yeah, it
hear
doesn't
it,
go
then
away.
you cannot get rid of it.
Mhm.
You know, like it is so bad.
For sure. I think for me, like the first thing that comes to mind is like excessive monologues. I think some people, when they get nervous, they just like there's that silence and people don't like it, so they keep talking. You know.
They just
I
You
think
mean
it's
like not moving on from a point?
yeah.
Okay.
I think especially with teams where people are talking and you don't really get any form of visual or audio feedback ever,
Right.
like typical, online presentation, it's like everybody understand, and then you wait, and then you move on.
You take
Yep.
silence
Like-
as yes.
Yeah, they take the silence as a yes, but then I think there's also people who react to that as, okay, let me reiterate my point, and then they'll do it 2 or 3 times, and it's like, holy fuck, I haven't been paying attention, and you're on the second. You finally made it to the second point, but I've been so distracted by you saying the same thing 3 fucking different times, just a slightly different way that I've disengaged. Like I'm gone.
Yep. Joseph, anything for you?
I don't. I'd have to listen to like a presentation to like think about it and like get the flashbacks going of like presentations that I don't like. But I guess because the most presentations I've seen, at least recently, have been like within the company and from like an HR or like,
Right.
I don't know, like
Safety
higher up.
training.
Yeah, like kind of thing. So like, and Gabe and I have talked about this extensively, but like when you can tell this person has sold their soul to the company,
They start
Oh,
using the word we.
and like you're gonna love it here, and like you
They're
listen
just
to
way
that,
too happy. Yeah.
it's like
Dude.
you either they don't realize or they like,
There's
I don't know.
It's a play. I don't know. Like they know they're faking it.
Yeah, but like when they
It drives me crazy.
act like or actually do, like just are so enveloped in the company and the propaganda of it that
They
like
become a representative of the company.
yeah, and
It's
I mean
like
that's
they don't
gen-
become. They're not Phil. They're Phil who works at company or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
and it's
Phil who
especially
loves working at company.
yeah. And it's like this is my second family here, and like you can just
Ooh.
tell that they're like
We like to have fun here. Get the fuck out of here.
like that shit always just grinds my gears because either they're so fucking boring that they actually love that company so much, or they're just indoctrinated and like so done with life, like I don't
You're
know.
you just
I
look around,
just
you're like,
can't.
am I in a cult right now? Like,
No.
what did I sign up for?
Justin, we talked about this. I think at some point people get what's that? What's the
Stockholm.
no? It's when you like invest too much that it makes sense to keep investing instead of
Oh,
pulling
Sunk
out.
cost fallacy.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
sunk cost fallacy where they're like, I've put 10 years of my life in it, so it must be good, right?
Yeah,
Like
I don't
ugh.
know. It
When
that's a thing that grinds my gears.
Totally feel that.
when my company got bought out, we had a presentation from the parent company, and they showed us a 2-minute literal ad of their company, but it was like the kids of their employees, and they like sat them down. They're like, "What makes a company good?" And they like played
Oh.
cutesy music, and it was miserable, terrible ad. I could like obviously you could see right through it. Like
Mhm.
they've manipulated these kids into being like, you think safety's important, don't, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And then the video ends, and the guy's like, "I just love that video." Like, he's like, "Sometimes I just watch it before a presentation because it's just so cute." And I was like,
Oh my
"What the
God.
fuck is wrong with you?"
This
Like,
guy's probably
dude.
fucking bending over and kissing his own ass.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what led you to this point that you watch that video in your free time?
But like, does he say that, or does he like, oh, that's a good line?
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, either way, just like
It's
fuck off.
disgusting either way.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
Oh, God, I hate that. That's making me cringe just subconsciously. It's rough, dude.
It was rough. Secondhand embarrassment for sure.
I feel like I can
Yeah.
picture that guy.
He looks
feel
like
like-
every other guy who drives a Beamer, like SUV, to go pick up his kids at his private school. I mean,
Completely just soul to soul.
all right, I've got another one.
This
This is not related to that, but it's specific to online. People with shitty fucking microphones.
Oh,
It's
I-
been
how
a
do you-
year.
It's been a year. And here's the thing, my company, they gave me a headset the first day before pandemic. They're like, here's your headset for meetings. I'm like, cool, thanks. But obviously, like this headphone, or the headphones I'm wearing now have a mic. But I am acutely aware that it is dog shit, and I'm not going to use it because I'm polite. Now, there's other people who will use something that sounds like a fucking aluminum can that they fucking shittily duct taped and engineered to somehow resemble a microphone, and they're like taking off in an airplane at the same fucking time. Why? It's been a year.
Well, they probably
Dave,
don't realize it. They don't listen to
You
their
don't hear
own-
yourself. You'd
I
hope by that
know.
point somebody has told them. But Gabe, I'll tell you something worse, okay? This happened like 2 weeks ago, okay? And granted, it's been a fucking year, okay? We're supposed to have class, and for some reason we had to go online. I can't remember why. We had to be online for the day. So I log into WebEx, get in the class or whatever. It's the typical class. We're getting to the presentation, and somebody put one of the girls, so I don't really know. She's from a different
Oh, I know where you're
department.
going with this.
She put a question in the chat, and the professor was like teaching. He had like the screen. She's like, I can't really see the chat. Can you just like unmute yourself and ask the question? She put in the chat, I don't have a camera or a microphone.
What?
I'm like, that's gotta be a
She-
fucking lie.
She's lying. She just probably doesn't
so
want
but,
to.
lying.
but then she typed like a paragraph in the chat. But it's like, maybe she's just like, I don't know. I don't want. But it's like, no one, you cannot tell me you don't have a microphone after a fucking year in a pandemic where most things are online meetings. Like that is some.
I
horrible
thought you were
shit.
gonna say she was unmuted the whole meeting or whatever.
No, people have gotten better about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that Joseph?
Well, like her laptop doesn't have a webcam with a microphone, or
Like, what was? I don't even. She had to have a laptop. No, I know she has a Surface. I know she has a Surface. She uses that in
Yeah,
class.
they don't have any webcams ever in laptops anymore.
But it's like, how the fuck do you not have a microphone after a
She's
year
fucking
in the
lying,
pandemic?
dude.
Like,
She's totally
the
lying.
shitty headphones that come with iPhone or
Yeah.
used to come with like your
Yeah.
iPhone or whatever phone. Like usually those come with headphones and like a little mic. Well, yeah, like something.
Come
or like,
on.
can you get WebEx for your phone and like use
You
that?
could call. You can call in. Yeah, you can call into the meeting. It was just
Yeah.
so funny. I'm just like, you're lying. Like, but then she like typed like a paragraph long. So I was like, what is going on here? Maybe she's like didn't want to
She's
unmute
committed
herself
to
for some
law.
reason. I don't know.
Or
but-
she's like
I mean,
listening
if
to
she's in
music.
a
I don't
loud
know.
area.
yeah, it was just funny. I was like, no, I'm not buying it.
That's definitely one of my biggest fears is that my microphone is like not
yeah.
as good as I think it is. Because I don't hear it. Or like, because I wear like wire or like Bluetooth earbuds. And so like the microphone kind of hangs like at my ear, like kind of behind me.
Mhm.
And so like I'm always kind of worried that it's not like picking up. But I've never had anyone
Is that
say.
are those the Jaybirds?
Yeah.
Those mics suck, dude. You're being that guy.
I don't listen to it. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you could find out. You could record yourself and see.
That's so much work.
Yeah, I bet it
don't
is,
give a
yeah.
fuck.
You're recording right now. At least I hope
This
you
is
are.
different though. I also don't listen to these recordings.
It's not different. How do you think I felt when each one of you guys had bad microphones?
Hey, this is the only microphone I've recorded myself on.
Okay, that's fair.
I had a
But-
bag microphone for a long time.
You did, and even so, even when you got your good one, you still didn't have it set up properly, and it would drive me fucking insane. Jacob and I sat and brainstormed for month after month on how we can get you to improve your audio quality, Gabe.
In secret? That's crazy.
Hey, we got there. It's all good. I will say in online meetings, I can't be too mad at it, but I'm getting a little tired of hearing. Can you guys see my screen? From the same people every goddamn time. It's
Okay,
like,
but there's time. I've had
I
times
know.
where someone presents and is starting talking, and it's like, hey, your thing's not up. I can't
Sorry,
see
I
shit."
shouldn't use that example. It's more the can you hear me? It's
Yeah.
like there's one person in our lab and he like every single time he unmutes himself, he's like, "Can you hear me?" It's like it's the same setup every week. And if we can't, we'll tell you. Like just start talking. I don't know. But I want to quickly go back to the nervous tics that Dayton mentioned. Because like for me, those aren't necessarily like pet peeves. They're just like for lack of a better word, sad. You know, it's like I feel bad. It's like it's most often like uncontrollable. Because I remember I took a public speaking class back in high school, and it was a hard class for some people. Like I remember one girl had to like bring a chair up to the classroom and sit down because she would just shake too much when she'd be presenting. You know, like some people it's just like physically affects your body. I mean, obviously I can relate to that because I mean that's how my anxiety works too. Um, but I felt so bad this last week because we were doing presentations class and it was like 2 hour long class and we had to do 3 presentations that day. And so I'm like, yeah, that's 20-ish minutes and then questions, you know, whatever, like not a big deal. And I was talking to this girl and I'm like, yeah, you know, probably about the time. She's like, oh, ours is like 40 minutes. And then she was like scared it was gonna like be too long, but I'm like, oh, we have 2 hours, like it's fine. And it was only two of them in the group, so they each had like 20 minutes of talking. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. But I think she was kind of like nervous that it was gonna be too long. So they get up there, and her turn comes up to start talking, and she was totally fine for like 5 minutes, I think. But I don't know, and this just happens. I think she just like she had like a mini panic attack, and it was like she like ate a mushroom in Mario Kart. Like she started just going way faster, and I could see her like I feel like she's like got warmer, and she was just like invisibly kind of like nervous, and she just like started talking, and it's like yeah, and it's like not breathing as like not slowing down to breathe. Like she was just like speed running. It's like I wanted to be like, hey, it's okay. Like just take a deep breath. You're doing great. Don't worry about it. But I felt so bad because I wanted to just be like, I want to help you, but you have to just sit there and take it. But I feel
I
bad for people
remember
who do that stuff.
back in middle school, I used to get like really nervous about like going up in front of like class. Like I used to get to the point where like if I had to go up in front of class, my face would get like beet red and like I would start like tearing up and like I would just like start sweating like crazy. And I remember like I would like my hands would like shake and stuff like that. And I don't even know what like clicked and like what made me stop doing that, but I think it was around like late middle school. But
I think it's
just
a combination
remember,
of just getting older and also experience.
yeah, I just remember being so like mortifying of like me going up there and me like my face like getting red and like my eyes like starting to like water. It was just like fuck, like it's like I don't like I couldn't control it either. Like even if I was like I'm not gonna let this happen this time, and then it happened.
got
I was like
worse.
fuck.
But that's the thing about anxiety. The more you think about it, the worse it gets. You know.
Yeah.
And I remember like I said, it depends on the stakes of the presentation. Like Gabe was saying, I've been pretty okay lately. But like I remember for the senior design presentation, Dayton, I was getting like insane dry mouth before it started. I was like, fuck. But I didn't want to like drink too much because I didn't want to have to pee. Because I always have to pee some million times when I'm nervous. So I was just putting water in my mouth and like swishing it around and like spitting it out. Because I'm just like, I just need to get rid of this fucking dry mouth. Because that's going to directly affect my presentation if I can't fucking talk, you know?
Oh my god.
And it's just so like, I hate the fight or flight response, man. I hate it. It's like my mortal enemy. It's constantly fucking me up.
Great.
Yeah. Does have any final words on presentations or virtual presentations specifically, anything like that?
Only that I can remember. Let's see. I forget what fucking class it was, but again, one of those classes, everyone had to give a presentation on a research. It was either on a research paper, I think. But it was a professor who like you knew only did it because the other professors did it. So like he really didn't care. You'd like get an A for doing it. So one day one of my friends came into class. We weren't presenting, but another one of like our friends within that class was, and he passes these papers to everyone, and I look and it's presentation bingo. And which is like such a shitty thing to do as an audience member, which is like, oh, they did this thing, circle it. And I felt so bad for them because then we're all like, oh, they
And you see
They said-
everybody like in unison be like,
Yeah, to like cross it off or circle it or
Wait, so,
whatever.
so the
Brutal.
presenters didn't pass that out?
No, it was someone else in the audience.
Oh, that's so horrible. 'Cause I know,
Fucking brutal.
like some presentations they do give handouts like that to like have more engagement.
Yeah.
But that's fucking brutal, man.
No, it was not that. And then like they printed off more for when he did it too. Like someone else found it, so like we
Okay.
like gave it back at him.
That's
But
good.
it was so funny still. Just like then the people were paying attention. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he stumbled on a word, or like he wall of text, or there were some good ones actually, like positive like things within a presentation. But
Yikes.
part of me wanted to like get it and yell bingo in the middle of his presentation, but I feel like that would have been too far.
Yes, I can confirm just that would have been too far.
But also, it's like no one cared about this presentation. Like it was a group. There was what, maybe 10 people in this class, and this was like our senior year. Like we've all taken the same classes together. Like it's a small major, so like we all knew each other pretty well. And like the guy that was presenting was laughing. He's like, "That's pretty fucking funny." Like he at least made it seem like it was semi okay.
Right. Yeah. See, that'd be fun to do in a virtual meeting when your camera's off. You know, it's
Well, yeah.
like if you wanted to.
Bingo. What? Oh, nothing.
Sorry, I was, dude. Speaking of that, I like watch my mute icon like a hawk. Like I'm not even close to ever pressing it. I'm like, am I still muted? Am I still muted? Because it's like you don't want to be that guy, you know. Or if like I'm on my phone, it's like I don't want him to hear this, you know. But
For sure.
all right, well, I don't know if that was informative to anyone, but thanks for listening to the podcast this week. I hope it improves your presentation skills or something like that.
When are our podcasts ever informative?
That's very true.
Very rarely.
Yeah, since we put the kibosh on STEM episode, so
I mean,
those weren't
you're not learning
informative anyway.
Next week you might learn something. Who knows?
oh,
That is true.
Joseph, great foreshadowing. Y'all are in for a nice surprise coming up. But anywho, thanks for listening to the podcast. As always, you can find our show on Mondays on YouTube and podcast services. Follow us on Instagram at ewfpodcast, and go give us a follow on Twitch, baby. ewf_podcast. Give us some help out there. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.